Your binge eating could be the best thing that ever happens to you. Hello my honeys, it's Emmie. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program. To learn how you can work with me inside of the Slim on Starch program, as well as your own personal mindset coach and nutrition coach, go to healthyemmie.org or just click the link in the down bar. Also make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you can be notified every Wednesday and Saturday when I upload a new video. Binge eating is one of the most common struggles that my clients come to me with, and the initial phone calls that I have with clients could bring me to tears because they are filled with intense emotions from people who feel like their whole life has been stolen from them, and it's just been this dance that they've played with food, wrapped in this nightmare that they can't wake up from. Let's flip the script here. I say to my clients who are on this call with me that just feel so overwhelmed by how much food and binge eating has taken over their lives that it could be the best thing that ever happened to them. And for you watching this video, your binge eating could be the best thing that ever happens to you, because as it turns out, what it is that hurt you is usually the same thing that will heal you. And I say to my clients, if you never struggled with this, you would have never been on this phone call today. And this phone call, this program, our work together could be the game changer for the rest of your life. Let's get into why your binge eating could be a huge advantage for the rest of your life. First, I want you to consider, what is your binge eating giving you? When somebody is struggling with addiction, and although the word addiction is usually thought of to be associated with things like drugs or sex or porn, the pathways that we engage in when we are binge eating are the same pathways that individuals engage in through addictive things like sex and drugs and gambling and all of this. So it's all the same brain pathways. So when humans engage in binge eating, it's an addictive process. And oftentimes what I find is that the addiction isn't so much to the food itself as it is to the behavior of the binge eating. I'm sure if you've engaged in binge eating, you can identify with the fact that you usually can't even taste the food, and it's not as much about the food as it is about the experience and the emotion and the relief that you get from it. So I want you to consider, what am I getting from the binge eating? What emotion am I getting? Is it relief? Is it freedom? Am I genuinely hungry and my body is getting nourishment? The binge eating is giving you something. You wouldn't engage in it over and over and over again. You wouldn't put yourself through that unless there was something that you were getting from it that was quite pleasurable. And maybe it is just straight pleasure. But I want you to pause and consider that. Take out a piece of paper and journal about this. Talk this out if you need to. What is the binge eating giving you? Think about that. Pause and think. Okay, we're going to table that emotion for a second. Whatever that emotion is, let's table that for a second. The next thing I want to discuss is the fact that the opposite of addiction is connection. The opposite of addiction is connection. And what I often find with individuals that are engaging in binge eating behaviors is that it's often done alone. And when they're with other people, the desire to binge eat or the drive to binge eat is very much turned down. And you might think, why is that? Is it that I'm embarrassed of other people? Is it that when I'm with other people, I'm feeling really good and I don't need that? Well, it doesn't really quite matter why, because once we find out why we do something, how does that change anything? We found out why we do it, but the behavior is still there. Just understand that connection and addiction are mutually exclusive. When you are feeling connected with others, whatever you are getting from that addiction is no longer needed because the connection replaces the addiction. So we've discussed two things here. First, what emotion am I getting from the binge eating? What am I getting from that I really enjoy? And the second is that connection and addiction are mutually exclusive. When we bring these two things together, we create a life of fulfillment. Fulfilling lives are not done in isolation, and they aren't done just with the pleasure that we experience. A life that is fulfilling is great emotions done and felt in the presence of other people. The third thing that makes life very fulfilling is an act of service, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in this video. So ask yourself, what emotion am I getting? Is it stress relief? Is it enjoyment? Is it pleasure? Is it excitement? And how can I get that emotion when in the presence of other people or doing something that makes me feel connected to other people? Connection is actually multi-layered. It's not just about connection with other people, but it's about connection with yourself too. So I want you to ask yourself, where can I get that emotion and how can I get it in the presence of other people? And the second thing is, where can I get that emotion and where can I get that emotion so that I feel connected with myself? So let's say it's something like stress relief that you get from engaging in the binge eating. How can I get stress relief in the presence of other people? And how can I get stress relief in myself? Stress relief in the presence of other people is something like a Zumba class, a group exercise class, a night with the girls when you sit around the fire and you talk and you gossip and you just have fun being with other people. That's stress relief in the presence of others. Stress relief in the presence of yourself is also extremely important to feel connected with yourself, because relying on others is not always going to be an option, nor is it a completely healthy option to rely on, because ultimately we have to have the power within ourselves to be able to deal with these emotions. So whether it be through meditation, exercise, yoga, painting, podcasts, dancing, something that makes you feel connected within yourself that gives you the emotion like stress relief that you're looking for. Once you've accomplished those two things, you can move on to the third thing that's going to make your life extremely fulfilling, which is to engage in acts of service. The purpose of this life is not to sit isolated in your own private island and feel whatever pleasure, stress relief, whatever it is that we are looking for. We are social creatures. To make your life fulfilling, doing acts of service for those in need, and it doesn't have to be this big donation to a charity, this big, huge thing, volunteer work, all that stuff. It can be tiny, teeny little acts of service that you do daily that remind you that you are connected with the other people on this earth. There's a saying that the only way that we can keep what we have is to give it away. And I know that our mindset coach Kiki uses this one because it comes from the 12 steps, which is very much tied up in addiction. And it's true. The only way to keep what we have is to give it away. And whatever experiencing you're having with the binge eating, whatever you find it's really stemming from is a window into how you can serve others. So let's say that you are experiencing a need for pleasure, you're experiencing a need for joy, you're experiencing a need for excitement. You're not the only person that needs to get those emotions. That emotion of pleasure, joy, excitement, every human on earth needs those emotions. So how can you serve others in providing them with that emotion? Being able to connect with others and give them the support and the emotion that perhaps you were looking for through food can be one of the most fulfilling things to do. So before you know it, you've created the most fulfilling life for yourself. You've addressed whatever it is that the binge eating is giving you. You've made connections with others, and you've created a fulfilling life for yourself, all stemming from binge eating. Number one, identify what emotion you are getting from that binge eating. Where else can you get that emotion? Number two, form a connection with others. And number three, engage in acts of service. If there's anything that you're struggling with that you would like some guidance on in terms of food mindset, plant-based eating, weight loss, any of this kind of stuff, just leave a comment and I will make a video on it. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in my next one. And if you want to work with me, go to healthymma.org. Woo!